A big 3 points for Arsenal Football Club. They have not won away from home in the last 5 attempts at Goodison Park, but they were top quality today. A narrow goal margin, but that does not account for the dominance, the possession, the opportunities, the openings that Arsenal created in that game. Very unlucky, in my personal opinion, to not be 1-0 ahead earlier on in the match. The goal from Martinelli, a fantastic pass from Fabio Vieira, deemed offside Eddie Nketiah earlier on in the play. But as we all saw on the replay, as Gabriel goes to play the ball, there isn't a deliberate attempt to play the ball by the Everton player of whom it deflects off of. That deliberate attempt at play should have meant, in my personal opinion, Arsenal won up in the opening 20, 25 minutes where they were in the ascendancy. That would have changed the complexity of this game. And I think Arsenal would have gone to score a few more goals. However, this Arsenal team today were concise. They were meticulous in their possession. They didn't panic. And I think this is a sign of a brilliant team that although they weren't winning, they didn't start hoofing the ball long. They didn't start taking stupid shots from stupid positions. They weren't being unrealistic. They were biding their time for the right opportunity. And then a brilliant passage of play for some very interesting corners today where they delayed that involved Fabio Vieira, Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and of course Trossard on that left foot who buries it post and in to give Arsenal what I believe is a massive 3 points. Yes, they haven't smashed them 5-6-7-0. But huge in terms of keeping pace with City, who have started this season like a freight train. But I think also from an Arsenal point of view, it was a hoodoo club. It was a bogey team, a side that Arsenal have struggled against many times in the past 5 years, especially under Mikel Arteta. So to go away from home and almost for Arteta to get that monkey off his back, that pressure relieved that we can go here and win, it's a gateway victory for Arsenal. And of course, a long way to go this season. I still believe this Arsenal team is sitting in second gear. I think they have got levels to improve. I think as the likes of Rice settle more, I believe that will be coupled with even more improvement from Fabio Vieira that looks like, in my opinion, a Premier League player today. Whether it's 3 or 4 extra pounds of muscle that he has put on, whether it is more belief and a stronger mentality, you combine those factors with his technical ability, range, and a player that creates outputs. I know he didn't get an official assist today, but he should have done. This player is going to be special for Arsenal. I also think Arsenal fans need to look at their manager today because he's been heavily criticised at the start of the season. Panic ensued when Gabriel didn't start in centre-back role for a few games. Back there again today. Although I did think towards the end, he looks a little leggy. He looks a little bit like he was lacking in some match fitness. And I believe that was why he wasn't being played earlier on in the season. Also, cries, oh, why is Kai Havertz never going to be dropped? The manager's never going to put him on the bench because he has to play him because, oh my God, he spent money on him and he's going to be arrogant and he's going to be a favourite and it's going to ruin our season. Oh my God. Imagine being an Arsenal fan right now and crying about the direction that your club is going in. Drop me out. Drop me out. It's like a rich person moaning that they have to clean out their swimming pool like they're a victim. Respectively, Kai Havertz dropped to the bench today, and rightfully so. Fabio Vieira given a chance, and he's shone. This nonsense agenda created by Arteta outers that Kai Havertz was going to start get every one of Arsenal's 50-plus games this season. That Gabriel magalhaes was going to, we're breaking up the best centre-back partnership in the country. What are we doing? This is crazy. This is a madness. Calm down, dear. It's just a commercial. On a real level, the panic from Arsenal fans at the beginning of this season has been nigh on embarrassing to watch. Fair play to the Gooners that have criticised areas that need to be criticised, but backed their club, their manager and players to get this right. You know, and that is four wins and a draw. Undefeated still this season, along with Liverpool and Tottenham. You look at it, 9 goals scored. So they are a little bit behind the other teams in terms of goals scored. There's no doubt. But when Gabriel Jesus is fully fit and back in, by the way, City, Tottenham, and Liverpool have all had their main bagsman fit all season. Gabriel Jesus hasn't even started playing yet. When it comes to goals conceded, second best defense so far in the league. Only City have a better one by 1 goal. Not conceding opportunities and chances. Let me just say this again to anyone in the back not listening. The reason Arsenal didn't win the league last year was opportunities conceded, goals conceded, not a lack of goals being scored. This weird narrative of we don't score enough is fugazi. It's fugazi. This Arsenal team is just warming up, and it's still scored 9 goals this season, and they will score more. There's no doubt about it. You can see it, you can sense it, you can feel it. And the only Arsenal fans denying this are ones that want them to fail. They want them to foul, which again is a very weird concept indeed. I hate loads of parts about my football club, Man United, but I still want us to win every game. I can't help myself. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. But as I say, I also want to say Raya today. I thought Raya was excellent in goal. Some of his sweeper keeping at times today, I thought was particularly good. And there's still, look, Arteta will play this down. He will not say that he's the new number 1. Ramsdale may be back in for the Champions League. But I thought Raya was very, very good today. But I also want to shout out Bukayo Saka. The reason that I believe Bukayo Saka is world class is due to how he started this season. Some will say, Terry, your ball knowledge is lacking. I'm sorry I don't play FIFA. I'm not part of Baller FC. Do you want to know why I think he's world class? Forget Messi. And that isn't world class. That is beyond world. That's alien class. The man's an alien. He ain't in this world. He ain't of humanity. He's that good. Same as Cristiano Ronaldo. Their form and outputs are abnormal by modern day standards. But you know why Bukayo Saka, in my opinion, is world class? Is because he's not playing particularly well. But I still think he has 4 GA in 5 matches. This guy's output is still in the 80% margin. He is still producing and creating goals for his team when he isn't at his scintillating best. And where there is outputs, there is quality. No player has consistently high outputs and is a bad football player. This is something I will take to my grave as a fervent belief of this game. Somebody that delivers in their role as a professional footballer is not bad if they can deliver whilst they're underperforming. Just imagine what Saka's going to do this season when his form returns. This Arsenal team are top class. This Arsenal team, I believe, could be even better than last year's team. Look, whether they win the league or not, some of that comes down to Man City, who have started this season, like I say, like a freight train. But this Arsenal team is top quality. And I know that Arsenal fans will be seeking a utopian perfection. I don't know if that exists. Well, maybe it does. It's Man City. But you're not going to get that. And I mean, no disrespect to Mikel Arteta. He's not Pep. I don't know if... We may never see, by the time he retires, a better manager than Pep. So again, don't set your standards to try and be as good as him, because you're never probably going to achieve them. You know? If you're an Olympic sprinter coming up, don't set your standards of, if I don't surpass Usain Bolt, I'm trash, because you're going to be disappointed. There may never be somebody faster than him. Not in our lifetime anyway. Sometimes these standards that are being set are ridiculous by certain people are so high because they know there's going to be failure. It's like setting your kid. Do you know what, son? If you don't become as successful as Albert Einstein, I'm going to disown you. You're disowning your kid. The likelihood of that happening is so low. It's minuscule. It really is. But look, as I say, for me, I look at this Arsenal team. I think you're top class. Liverpool, I've said top 4, definitely top 4. Liverpool, though, actually, have only conceded 4 goals, the same as Arsenal, but they concede far more chances. Spurs, listen, no pressure on them so far. They've been impeccable in the opening 5 games. The North London derby is set up for something special right now. But based on last season and this one, Arsenal is still my team to come second, and they have a chance of winning the league. It's going to take City dropping off a little bit. We know that. But this Arsenal team has grown from last year. This Arsenal team has learned from last season. And in my personal opinion, they are the real goddamn deal. And I said it towards the end of last... Listen, I don't get all my predictions right. I thought Chelsea and Man United would be a lot better at the beginning of this season. Last year, I thought Liverpool would be better. We all get things wrong. And I do not claim ever, I'm not arrogant enough to believe that every football opinion that I hold is correct, especially surrounding predictions, because they can always go either which way. But I truly believe, and it looks like I'm right again, anyone that thought this Arsenal team was going to drop off this season and fall away and go back to what they were in the early days of Mikel Arteta was doing one thing and one thing only. They were laboring under a delusional hope that Arsenal would fall away. They're the real deal. They're top class. They're going to be in this title race, and they're going to be a threat for many, many years to come. Viewers, hit like buttons for us. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace. Turn on bell notifications as well. Let's go to your super chats here. First one says, Chelsea were unlucky. Arsenal lucky. That's the game. I disagree. I don't necessarily think Chelsea were unlucky. The body of work of the past 37 games, 39 points in 37 games for Chelsea and not scoring goals, tells you this is a habitual growing into what could be a systemic problem at Chelsea, where with Arsenal, you look at their points tally in their last 37 games and how they've been performing for over a year now. Winning this game the way they did was because they're a class team. Yes, you can argue one team hit the post and it didn't go in. The other team hit the post and it went inside. But at the end of the day, this is Arsenal keep doing this, and they have done for over a year. That is not luck. That is quality, my friend. Terry speaking sense as usual. Legend, the league is going to be close, but I believe it's ours. Look, listen, you can believe Arsenal are going to win it. I don't believe you're winning the league just yet. But you all know that my predictions are fluid, and you have to be fluid in how you think. I thought Man United would make the top 3. Right now, I'm saying top 6 are going to be a push on how we're performing. In 5 games' time, my mind could change again because we could improve. But you have to look at patterns. You have to look at history. You have to look at what's going on at your football club in this moment in time. And the one thing, and I never deviate from this, there's a mentality at Arsenal. The football's great, but Arsenal can sustain their quality through adversity. Now, they didn't do it for every moment of adversity last season. That's why they didn't win the league title. But I felt then, and I believe now, this team is going to grow through that. And a big component in that is people like you, Mr. Tybox123, because you criticize your team when they need criticizing, but you back them ultimately. And criticism from people that have your best interests at heart hits different. It improves you. It makes you better. Simple and as straightforward as that. Am I happy? Gunnar is so good with his feet. Listen, that element, I have to say, look, Ramsdale's a good goalkeeper, and I want him to keep progressing. I'd liked him to have been England's number 1. But watching Raya today with his feet, just in my personal opinion, it's only one game of watching him in an Arsenal kit, but there is a difference. There is a real difference, and you can see it. How come Saka doesn't get credit for regaining possession, keeping shape, and drawing fouls like Grealish? It's a very good point. And that's because there is a bias towards some players and not others. Saka does everything you would want of him as a baseline professional. Works hard, great attitude, keeps shape, tracks back when he needs to. His general play is that element of his game is always a 6, or like that's the base score you get. That's always at a 6. Then it's about what can he do from a specialist point of view to raise him to an 8, 9, 10. And he hasn't quite been clicking in terms of dominating the game from a threat point of view in a lot of matches, but he's still creating chances and still opening up teams, even when he's not at his best. That is why he's a world-class player. Now, a lot of people say he's got to do it in the World Cup, in the Champions League before I say he's world-class. He will. He will. It's coming. It's going to happen. For me, it's a foregone conclusion. Mikel Arteta's game management has improved massively. We're less exciting this year, but controlling games way better. I don't feel worried at any point. Raya class. I think it's a great super chat, and I think you are absolutely spot on with what you say there. Terry, come out of the closet. We know you're a secret Arsenal fan. Had a good morning watching Goldbridge react to yesterday's United game. Come on, you Gunners. Yeah, look, I'm a Man United fan, but I'll always praise rivals on the Football Terrace when I need praising. Listen, Gooners that like me because I praise you. If you ever turn into a bad team again, I will criticize you. Don't get that twisted. I'm fair. Funny thing is, if we win versus Spurs next week, we are 1 point better off than we were last season with a W Saka. Gabby, okay, with Saka, Odegaard, and Gabby still off form. Exactly. And there are Spurs fans that think they're going to beat you next week. They are Spurs fans are mightily confident that they are going to get one over on Arsenal, which I find to be intriguing. I find it intriguing they believe that after 5 games at the Emirates as well, by the way. I can't wait for that game as a neutral. Arsenal have fixed their faces like Flint on the Premier League trophy. Dice Ball Rugby belongs in the Championship. Pickford thinks he's Johnny Wilkinson. Yeah, they're a terrible team, Everton. They're an absolutely shocking team to watch. Looks like the 27 million buyout for Raya is incoming. He looked very good today. There's no doubt about that, my friend. That relief feeling of getting a W at Goodison Park. And it should feel like a relief, but it should feel like a big moment for Arsenal fans because it's a game that you have struggled in. And I spoke about this for many years for teams that are progressing back to the top. Gateway moments. Honestly, it's true. And Chelsea fans will feel this the next time they beat a significant team. They haven't done that in a long time. The next time Man United win away from home against a good team, it improves things. It isn't the be-all and end-all. It doesn't mean, oh my God, Arsenal are champions now. But it's another step in the right direction. I'm still sure. I know what the detractors of Arsenal will say. They'll be talking about how it's only 1-0, though it's not good enough. They'll say today again is not sustainable. It absolutely, categorically is. Do not allow there to be a redefinition of what sustainable football means. Sustainable football, when it first became a phrase, was aimed at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And it was at games where we were dominated. We conceded the most amount of opportunities, but individual moments of brilliance from the goalkeeper saving shots and an attacker winning us the game narrowly were the difference. That is unsustainable. Ollie ain't got a job anymore. Dominating the game, having the most amount of shots, barely conceding opportunities on goals is beyond sustainable, especially when your front players haven't clicked into form yet. Anybody that says it's unsustainable, I bet they won't. None of them will debate me. None of them, especially from the big channels. They'll all run away. But tell them to come chat to me. They'll get schooled. Are Arsenal fans happy with the slow, low-scoring football? Do Arsenal fans want big wins or just 1-0, 2-1s? I can't speak for Arsenal fans. I'm not one. I'm going to save it for when some of the Gooners come out. But I'm going to say this now. And this isn't, listen, Della Spurs, you guys have started this season great. I think hindsight's one of my favorite sayings in the world. Hindsight is a lucrative commodity. When you look back, I think last year Arsenal actually started the season not too good in terms of winning. I think they used up too much energy over the course of the season in the early phases, first 2/3. I think they burnt out a little bit towards the end physically, which made it harder for them to deal mentally with the pressures of that title race. I think you win these games, you start off a little slower. I think an element of this is by design. And as the season kicks on, I think you'll see Arsenal get better and better. You don't want to peak too early. You want to taper to your best form. And I think Arsenal thus far are looking absolutely impeccable in terms of moving towards that. Terry here with an Arsenal wankfest. Well, this is the thing, though. If you've watched what I've said about Liverpool this season and praised them, not Chelsea, I ain't praised them. Who else I praised? Spurs this season, praised them massively. City, in my match reviews, praised them heavily. So again, Alec, my advice is watch all my shows, watch all my content, and there you would see the consistency. If you only watch the Arsenal stuff, you think I'm only saying these nice things about Arsenal. That's not me being biased towards Arsenal. That's you not watching everything I say. And remember, you should never judge somebody's opinions or behavior unless you have an idea of the total picture of what they're saying. Context is key in life. We see a lot of mistakes happen because people don't do that. Simple and as straightforward as that for me. Not only a long-awaited win at Everton, but beating a Sean Dyche team is also not common. Yes, you're very true. Arsenal, I didn't even realize that, but you're right. Arsenal do struggle against Sean Dyche teams. So I think there'll be a significant feeling of joy and relief in that dressing room that will build confidence. I rather Arsenal taking 1-0 all day and seeing them control the game comfortably in order to be able to sustain a long season. I don't care how we win as long as we win. Listen, I agree. If you're winning games 3-0, but you could have conceded 2 or 3 goals in that game, that's far less sustainable than comfortably winning 1-0, 2-0 in smaller scorelines, but dominating the play. You're bang on. Last season, everyone talks about City. It's not the same. And then they kicked on. Looks like Arsenal were showing the same this season. Listen, I agree. And this is not me digging Spurs out, but I was listening to a certain talk radio today because I do. It's part of my job to listen to what other people are saying. And I'm hearing title talk from their pundits for Spurs, which is fine. These are the same pundits that last year said you can't talk about title races until the last 10 games when it came to Arsenal. That's why I called out the hypocrisy. Remember, I've been in this game so long. I've seen all this stuff before. That's why I call it out. People think I was just twerking for Arsenal. No, I want consistency from pundits, and I don't like that kind of content. It makes me sick. This here comes from Krishna, who says, I'm happy with the win. Yes. Are we playing our best? No. But I believe this firmly that the first 8 to 10 and last 8 to 10 games are all about results. Absolutely spot on. You genuinely couldn't be more correct or accurate if you tried, my friend. I'm going to bring out Jason, going to bring out Gunner Souls now to have their say on the football terrace with this big result today for Arsenal. What's been, by the way, a mega weekend in the Premier League. Been a huge weekend, great results. 2 top 6 teams in the mud in 13th and 14th, respectively. Thank God for Chelsea, taking a little bit of the shine off Man United. But then again, Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, City, flying high at the top. The likes of Brighton pushing on hard. It's been an excellent start to the season. And listen, Champions League starts in a day. 1 day's break, and then Champions League football. It's going to be a thing of beauty. Gunner Souls is here with me. Jason's here with me. Boys, a big victory for you today. Souls, talk to me, my friend. Talk to me.
Hey, I did tell people Arteta's going to be flexible. People were getting on to me for saying, no, he's definitely going to play party right back. He's definitely going to tinker too much. And I told you, just give it time and things will go back to normal. And do you know what I've said? This is the perfect way to start the season because last season, we did too much too early. We were as perfect as we could be. Yes, there were a few flaws in the first 10 games last season, but were too minor to actually improve on and actually make a bigger impact. This season feels different where even though a lot of our players aren't on form, we haven't seen the best of many of these players, but yet we're picking up results, yet they're picking up output, and we're starting to see Arteta actually be flexible and using his squad a bit better as well. Like today we saw Tomiyasu come on. Before we've seen Jorginho come on. We've seen Kai Havertz come on. Fabio Vieira come on. Eddie Nketiah, Jesus, Trossard, etc. So he's starting to trust more of his squad and actually play the right players. Today for me, I think one of the biggest talking points has been David Raya and Ramsdale, whether this means is it the end of Ramsdale? No, I truly believe what he wants to do is give David Raya his opportunity, but then give Aaron Ramsdale the first game of the Champions League because he is a key component of us getting back to this level. He has been the one who has dragged us in some ways to get back into the top 4 and get back into Champions League football. And Arteta said, you know what, you have your moment. The first game against PSV is at the Emirates. You're going to have your moment. And I think from becoming a 3-time relegated keeper to becoming a Champions League keeper is something that Arteta wants him to build his confidence on. So, and I truly believe that is the narrative I'm going with. I mean, I could be completely wrong and David Raya starts against PSV, but that's the way I see it. And in terms of the game today, this is another ground conquered. That's how I see it. We have struggled since 2016. Arsene Wenger was the manager when we last beat them. We had the likes of Ozil, Lacazette. We had Mustafi playing in defence. We had Petr Cech in net. So when we look at how much we've overcome, and even after the disallowed goal, whether people want to agree, it is offside. From the rules of the game, that's offside, and we still kept going. Martinelli getting injured was a big impact to us, but Trossard came on, did his thing, got absolutely slaughtered against Fulham for the 45-minute cameo that he had. Eddie Nketiah coming on at halftime, one of the first earliest substitutions that Arteta did. This team seems to just be growing, and I'm liking what we're seeing. And now we've got the Champions League, we've got the Northern Derby. Let's just keep going. We need to be positive. We need to understand it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we got a bit too giddy too early last season. And now it's about being calm, being composed. We've won 4, drew 1. What more can we ask for?
Mate, I think I love what your breakdown there. I think when you look at the Ramsdale Raya situation, I think you're spot on. I don't think there'll be a decisive number one for a little while yet. I think they're both going to get some opportunities, and maybe after a month, 2 months, 3 months, then there may be one who comes out as the Champions League and Premier League goalkeeper. Maybe the other one becomes the FA Cup, League Cup goalkeeper. But I think, keeping that level of competition is key, if that makes sense. It's going to, as you said, that kind of pressure, that kind of competition does create better quality. It forces people to up their games and maintain their standards for a higher level. There's no doubt about that. I wanted to ask you about another player today that came. Sorry, go on, mate, go on.
I was going to say another thing with Raya is I feel like there's situations now, because when you look at David Raya, one of his best attributes has been being able to defend set pieces, whereas with Ramsdale has been a bit iffy when it comes to corners and actually playing against physical opposition, whereas with Brentford have really prided themselves on how they've handled set-piece situations. And I think Arteta is becoming flexible, not just from a goalkeeper perspective, but from every single position, and looking at the opposition and going, what's the best to conquer that? He said last season, we went physical to physical. This season, we went, no, we're going to play our smarter players, Fabio Vieira being one of them, Odegaard and Rice, rather than going for the Kai Havertz and matching them physically, because last season he would have went Tomiyasu instead of Zinchenko. So I think it's going to be a case of we're going to see a lot more of this where things are going to change and we're not going to expect them.
I hear you on that. I wanted to ask you about Fabio Vieira, because there's been calls for him to come in. What did you make of his overall performance for you today?
Overall, I think from a perspective of him starting, I think he did what he needed to do. I mean, potentially got an assist. He kept things ticking. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a star-like performance from him. It wasn't something that was like completely, yes, he needs to keep starting, but it's a lot better than what we've seen. And this is what I think we're transitioning into. We're going to have that Man City effect where players are going to need a season before we're going to see the best of them. He's clearly had struggles with, the physicality of the Premier League. Speaking to people who watch Portuguese league, it's a lot softer in terms of how they are, and the amount of dives that happen in the Portuguese league is different to what happens in the Premier League. So the transition was always going to be difficult for him, and a lot of players who come from the Portuguese league do tend to struggle in their first few seasons. But now you're seeing it, his mentality has changed. He wants the ball. He wants to, fight for it. Defensively, he was good. Attackingly today, he was good. But there were parts of his game which I wish can improve. But I feel like that's going to happen on the left-hand side. Whoever starts is going to be the guy that's going to be shadowed by the person who comes on. Kai Havertz came on too late to actually make an impact. But we've been seeing it. The left-hand side has been a lot quieter than most of the team this season.
I hear you on that. Jason, I mean, you're someone that's always been someone that's really been critical of Arteta, especially in his opening few games this season. Do you feel that it's all starting to fall into place now that the season's really kicking on? Were you more impressed with today's performance? Do you now feel it's more sustainable?
I feel like, to be honest, the performance wasn't like great, but like you said earlier on, like, City started late. City kind of like started slow. You don't expect to be starting gun ho, if you know what I mean. It's just all about results at this moment in time. And I feel like with that 4 wins, 1 draw, I feel like it's a really good start itself. But I feel like, in terms of Partey getting injured as well, that's a massive blow. But at the same time, Arteta today, he put the players in the right position as well. He kind of like, David Raya came into the fold, brings a little bit of competition, which I kind of respect on that forefront as well. But at the same time, I always felt like Trossard has to start this game. Like sometimes our attack, I know Martinelli, Saka, obviously Eddie's not on form at the moment. They're not at their best at the moment. But I just felt like Trossard deserved a chance. But at the same time, that kind of paid it off, coming on early and took his goal really well as well. So, you know what? Fair play to Arteta itself. Another ground conquered as well. I hate Everton to shreds. I can't stand them, to be honest. Lose 10 games. When it comes to Arsenal, they always beat them at Goodison as well. Like, literally, it's stressing. Hope they get relegated, man. Honestly, but to be fair, it's a comfortable performance today anyway. So,
yeah, I hear you on that. Viewers, we've shared the link if anybody wants to phone in and join us and have their say today. The question that came in earlier, I wanted to ask you all. Are you worried, Souls, about winning games 1-0, 2-1, but dominating the play? Or would you rather go back to last season where you were open at times and you conceded chances, but you were scoring an extra goal or two? What do you
I
prefer based on that question?
Oh man, that's the hardest answer because for me it depends on the opposition. Like when you're looking at someone like Everton, beating them 1-0 is fine because what's going to happen on the other end in terms of them attacking us is probably not going to result in anything. But when it comes to someone like a Man City, I want to have a cushion. I want to be able to. I'm not saying we're going to beat Man City 2-0, 3-0, but you want that 2-3 goal cushion. Because look at Anfield last season, we went 2-0 up against them, and what happened? They turned the game around. So some occasions I don't like it. Some stadiums I don't like it. I'd rather have a bigger cushion, take your chances, because sometimes those chances are the ones that win you the game. So I think it depends on the opposition. Against the mid-table and lower from 10th to, let's say, 20th, I don't really care. 1-0, 2-1, it is what it is. But against this, like, for example, we're playing in the North London Derby, I want a 2-goal, 3-goal cushion just so that we can actually relax and actually dominate the game without panicking that something's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that kind of actually varies because sometimes I want to attacking I want to score 5-6 goals, but at the same time I'm not a big fan of 1-0 or 2-0, but I understand that depending going on to tough stadiums like Goodison Park, where we actually struggled for 6 years, going into tougher grounds like Old Trafford, I don't mind that 1-0, 1-0, 2-1 or something like that, keeping that defense tight. Just general, I feel like I want that on the away games. But if it was at home, I would rather go gun ho because it's in our stadium. I would basically, we're meant to win as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think there has to be a mixture on those things. Definitely. It's a great roundup, boys. This is 3 points, but missing drive and energy in the midfield. Do you think your midfield missed drive and energy today?
Now, I'd say one criticism I will give Arsenal is the end of this game and the end of the Crystal Palace game. I'm a bit wary about how the composure gets lost. Even today, there was moments where we're just clearing the ball rather than holding on to it, retaining possession. I know sometimes it has to happen just to kind of keep the game flowing. But for me, I don't think the energy in midfield is actually fine because Odegaard was the press trigger. He was the one who was constantly pressing forward. Fabio Vieira was driving with the ball when he needed to be. I think what the difference is, we've become smart. And I think that's when football becomes smart, it becomes boring. And that's for a neutral or for a person who just likes watching exciting football, it's not good. But we're doing what we need to do. And this whole idea of having an energy midfield doesn't always need to happen. Against a physical side, it's actually going to be a detriment to us than actually being smarter and actually just outplaying their press. And that's what we did today.
I hear you on that. Bro, until Raya has a calamity, he will start. His long balls are so good, is what Enigma says here. It's a fair point if that's what you think, bro. Black King says Terry is a hypocrite. You need to expand on what you mean by that because I don't know what you're referring to, but thank you. Rice and White went under the radar, but were class. Do you know what it was? They put in those 7.5, 8 out of 10 performances without being spectacular. And this is the thing. I was watching the game with my brother today, and he's like, "What do you think of Rice?" And I said, "Well, I understand why people would say he's not a £100 million player because typically you never spent that amount of money on a DM. He's not Declan Rice. He's not Jude Bellingham. He isn't going to do what Jude Bellingham does. He's never going to do what Jude Bellingham does. But at being a DM, he's one of the best in the world. And there was 2 or 3 really good interceptions that he made today, good challenge that he made that just went unnoticed. I didn't even hear the fans in the stadium clap, but I'm watching it. Someone who played that position for a while as going nowhere near this quality and just thought, how he's reading that. Yeah, top quality. Jerome here, who's a Spurs fan, says it's going to be a very, very tough North London derby, but I have to respect that Arsenal are a good team. I did want to ask you guys, a lot of Spurs fans, not Jerome's being respectful, young Daniel and Jacob yesterday, a lot of Spurs fans are saying they are coming to the Emirates next week and they are beating you. A lot of Spurs fans are saying this, legit, verbatim. They are beating you at the Emirates Stadium next week. Are you guys concerned with how he's got on playing?
They never learn. Absolutely. They never learn, man. Honestly.
They do this every time.
Tottenham fans in a nutshell, man.
2010.
No, you know the funniest one was, I remember the Terrace did a live show, like a Friday night show that they were doing. And this was on Arteta's first actual season. And we were shocking and we beat them 3-1. They just don't get the lesson that it doesn't matter how you come into this, we're always going to beat you at the Emirates. That's just what happens. Yes, if this was at the at the White Hart Lane, it's a different story. But it's not. It's at the Emirates. You're coming to our ground. Bring it. Because you know what? I want you to gas it up so we can absolutely humble you guys and actually tear your dreams apart, because that's the way I want to win a Northern derby. I don't want to win it when they're already down. I want to win it when they're on the highs. Let's absolutely crush their hopes.
I mean, to be fair, they are doing well at the moment, but it's just typical Arsenal, isn't it? Put them in the spliff.
And so,
Go on, T. Okay, not talking now. Della Spurs, another Spurs fan here, says,
a long time no see, Terry, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. You must have a big delay. What were you going to say, bro?
I was going to say, going to Goodison Park is tough. The last time we won there was 2017, like almost 6 years we went, but I'm happy we finally ended it. Tough game. I went for a 1-0 win to us. I said it's going to be a tough game. Everton are whack, but it was good to get the job done. I was thinking, it's going to be a draw in it, but I'm happy for Trossard. Like, he wasn't that great today when he came on, kept on being sloppy, but I'm happy he got the winner for us. But fantastic game. Fabio Vieira, I thought he was outstanding today. David Raya, top keeper, I thought he was outstanding. Good ball distribution is so good. He doesn't make no mistakes. I thought he was fantastic today as well. So massive win for us, and like bring PSV at home and bring the derby next week. And as for you Tottenham fans, you do this every time. You haven't beaten us at the Emirates since 2010. We ain't lost to you for almost 13 years. You did all right. We'll see. And when we humble you again, we'll see, because you do this every time, and you guys win nothing. So bring the derby next week. But like I said, we are gonna humble you again.
Listen, I hear where you're coming from. Della Spurs here says, I'm all for sustainability, but Arsenal have a goal difference of 5, and Man City have a goal difference of 11. After 5 games, Man City's average of 3 goals a game, and Arsenal are averaging 1.
But that's nothing to do with sustainability. Nothing to do with sustainability, because it's about dominance. Man City score more goals, so they're more clinical. We can all agree on that. But that's nothing to do with sustainability. We are controlling games. I think Everton had an XG of 0.03 today or something like that. So we're not allowing the opposition to create much against us. So that sustainability would be if we were getting peppered and we were winning games on a counter, or we would have one chance and we'd score. I mean, that's what Spurs did under Conte, and that wasn't sustainable. So I think you've got, your wires crossed over here in regards to sustainability. If you're controlling games, if you're creating more chances than your opposition, you're bound to win games. So I'm a bit confused, but yeah. Thanks for the super chat.
I agree. I understand where he's coming from in terms of more goals, but my view is Arsenal are not just going to keep winning all the games 1-0 all year. I think Arsenal are going to start scoring more goals. So, yeah, I don't look at it as too much. As a rival, that worries me. Terry, I can't lie. TFT is sick. Come on, you gooners. Thank you. I assuming sick still means what sick meant when I was a youngster. It means good. I'm assuming it hasn't changed in terms of slang. Some words do change. Son to choke on white rice in North London. Garrett, bruv, that seems a little bit off key, bruv. I'm saying that sounds a little off. I get what you're doing, but that's a little off key, I would say there, son. Rice, a sideways pass merchant, 0 creativity. But he wasn't purchased for his creativity per se. Like, he'll have some moments where he'll score goals and create.
Too harsh on him. I think everyone's been too harsh on him.
It's not what he is. It's like when you sign Declan Rice, or a player that we know he is, you are not bringing him in thinking we've got the new KDB. Nobody thinks that. So you cannot judge a player by skill sets that he wasn't purchased for. The way you're assessing him is you're judging a goldfish's ability to climb a tree. It's crazy as far as I'm concerned, bro. Jerome says, here we go. You are respectful and they laugh at us. Overconfidence is a sin and the football gods don't like it. Ooh.
I mean, your fans are laughing, our fans are laughing, so it's balancing the forces, isn't it?
Yeah, probably true. Cedric here says Basuma is better than Rice.
Exactly.
You know what?
In-
Yeah, fair enough.
Go on.
Whatever. If that's the delusion you want to live in, fine. We'll see. We'll see on Sunday.
Well, Basuma's a quality player.
He is. Della Spurs is here with us. Spurs fans now on the show. What are you
Let's
saying,
see
bro?
who dominates that midfield in the derby. Let's see, man, on Sunday.
What are you saying, Della Spurs?
Hey, well, Arsenal got the win today, so, I can't really say anything. A 1-0 win going to Goodison. That's not necessarily the easiest game, so you have to give them their credit. I will give Arsenal their credit there. But my talk really is about this whole challenging for the league. I get it. You're getting the points now. We as Spurs fans were kind of falling for the same thing with Conte at the beginning of last season. We were still collecting points, even though our performances weren't the best. And everyone kept saying, is this sustainable? Is this sustainable? Can you continue to win like this and get the points? It doesn't matter how many points you get. Can you continue to play like this and win? And the answer was no, as we obviously saw. My worry for Arsenal is that they're going to slowly fall out of the title race. Not saying that they're going to fall out of top 3 or top 4 or even top 2. But as that goal difference gets bigger and bigger, and Arsenal are coming out of these games with only 1-0, 2-1 wins, it's going to get to the point that even if you do have the same amount of points, if the goal difference is too far away to do anything, there's no point in winning all these games if you're only going to beat the teams 1-0. I understand winning is very important, but it's also about the amount of goals. City does the winning with large amounts of goals as well with Haaland. He's a cheat code. So you guys have to compensate for that by not only saying, all right, we're winning these games, but now we got to put 2-3 up on the board to win these games. It's a whole nother level, and that's why Man City's so tough. But that's really what my talk is about.
But ain't you moving the goalpost? Like, you're moving the goalposts, right? Because all you need really to compete with Man City is keep on stacking up the 3 points. So I don't get how goal difference comes into it so early into the season. Yes, we all know Man City are one of the best attacking teams in the world and in the league. But at this stage of the season, it's all about collecting 3 points, right? The difference between Arsenal and Tottenham back then was that you lot were conceding a hell of a lot of chances. And you were scoring due to clinical strikers of Kane and Son. That's what won you games. Your brilliant front line. But what was happening with you lot was you were getting peppered. You lot were on the back foot and you would win games because you had outstanding players. That's not what's happening here. Yes, we could be more clinical, and that's a fair criticism, and I can admit that. But that's nothing to do with controlling the game and allowing Everton to pepper us, or we're conceding way too many chances.
So do you think you'll be able to control the game by, I guess, against a Liverpool or a Man City or even against Spurs? Do you think you will be able to control the game and still have the 60+% possession on the board? Or is it you will have to adjust your game and say, you know what, it's probably going to be closer to 50-50, but we need to take the chances that we create instead of just thinking we're just going to have the ball the whole game and we're going to create 12, but as long as we score on 1 or 2, that's all that matters.
Well, it depends where the game is in the game state. So if you're talking about home, you'd expect to dominate possession at home. You'd expect to limit your oppositions to less chances at home. When it's away, it's a more difficult ground. So you change your tactics. And we saw that in the Community Shield. We didn't press City like we would press other teams, or we pressed Everton today. We sat off them. We sat more in a mid-block. So it depends game by game. You've got to be adaptable. But the reality of sustainability is more to do with, are you getting peppered? Are you allowing the other team to get at you? And if that's the case, then I'd hear your argument for saying what we're doing is not sustainable. But that's not the case, is it? Everton had no real chances. Their best chance was when Decore dived for a penalty. That was their best chance. And then you're coming here and you're saying, well, it's not sustainable. You won't lose games if you don't allow chances on goal. That's a fact. Defenses win league, goals win matches. So that would be my take on my idea of what's happening at the minute. So I think it's promising in regards to how we're getting the results. I think the performances ain't as good. I'm not going to sit here and say we're, as swashbuckling as we were last season, because it's definitely not. But we're controlling the game. And we're doing what's needed to get the 3 points. And when Man City do it, there's a different narrative. But when we do it, it's almost like, oh, it's not sustainable.
I hear you.
I think that's a great debate on there, gents. We're going to go to some more of these super chats here, and then I'm going to have a chat with Tommy that's joined the stream with us as well. Haaland is in the City team. Enough about goal difference. Hear you there. But Conte ball statistics were also terrible, which backed the eye test. This is true. Bro, you can't be an American and support Spurs. I can't take you seriously. Please go back to the MLS. To be honest, it makes sense because you aren't used to winning. What it says there. 1-0 wins like Man United versus Wolves are not sustainable. If Arsenal keep performing to these levels and these 1-0 wins are, Spurs, City and Chelsea amongst 4 next games in the Premier League. And I think that's when we start to really get answers, you know, when some of these teams that are playing well all start playing each other. I'm really excited about how that is going to look. This here from Tony Bloom. He says Rice has one of the highest progressive pass percentages in the league this season. Della Spurs talking bollocks as usual. City win by death by 1,000 cuts all the time, which I think is very, very true as well. Not that you talking bollocks, but that end part there. I like you, Della Spurs. The problem is at this point in the game, Everton created the same amount of chances within 5 minutes of football to our 40 pointless possession is not dominating. Sooner Arteta realizes the better. What's your thoughts on that, boys?
So, okay, so he's got a problem with us dominating the ball, but our domination is the one that's creating the chances. Now, if the players aren't taking those chances, because we did cut open at Everton in quite a few occasions, the problem was we were making poor decisions once we got into the box. Like Fabio Vieira, the cross that he made wasn't the right cross to make in that situation. There was a few times where he shot the ball rather than making a pass. So once those decision-making becomes a bit better, and also, you've got to understand, we've had different 11s for pretty much all these games. We've had Partey at right back as an experiment. We've now reverted back to our original 11 that kept winning us the game. We've got Rice and Fabio Vieira or Havertz playing in midfield, which is going to take a little bit of time, but we're still winning and we're still scoring goals. So for me, I don't think it's a case of he's going to realise it. It's just going to click at one point. And it's not a case of him actually tweaking anything. It's just once the chemistry's there, once Saka kind of starts getting his rhythm, once Martinelli gets into his rhythm, and we get Jesus back primarily, that's when we'll be back. I'm not worried. I don't know what the hyper, analysing of us dominating games is becoming. It's weird.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Tommy joins us. How you doing, mate?
Hey, I'm doing good, mate. How are you guys? All right?
Yeah, not too bad. What are you here to say, bro?
No, I'm a West Ham fan, innit? So I thought I'd come on, see how my boy Rice is doing, see if that Arsenal fans actually rate him there, which they do. What a surprise! But no, I was going to say that. No, I was going to say that's probably the most dominating game of the season so far. I thought, even though I think Everton are awful, like I've tipped Everton to go down. I think they're the Sunderland of the last couple of years. Like, I think they're going to go down this season. They're absolutely dreadful. Like, I'm not just going to go. I know obviously Arsenal played their part to obviously be as bad as they were. But I wouldn't take this game to obviously take and look too much onto it. Like, I thought Arsenal were well, but I just thought Everton were awful. I don't even remember them having a shot. I don't remember having a great opportunity. I just remember them just pumping it up long, giving it away, and then you guys just recycle it just every time. But like, I've been a very dictator on Arteta about he has to win something this season. And so far, I've got to be honest, the way it's looked, people going, oh, he's keep changing positions, but keep changing his players, with the 11, he keeps changing. But that's how if you look at Pep, that's how he's been winning the league's last couple of seasons. He's rotated at the right times, and I think that's probably why you've been winning the games if you have, by rotating and putting on different 11s, which I think which you have to be doing, especially you've got Europe as well and Champions League, and it's just if you start winning things, you're going to be really dangerous, but we'll just see what happens.
Listen, I'll let Nathan. What do you make of that? Again, I'm not going to respond for you. You're a gooner. What do you make there? What Tommy there, the West Ham fan, said.
In terms of regards to what you said about Everton, I do feel they're a very poor team, and we did what we had to do in terms of to limit them to as little as we can. In terms of, I felt. Like I mentioned earlier, I felt the performance was very dominant. We're not exciting. We're not as dynamic as last season. I think that's very clear to everybody can see. But I think we've kind of left that aside to kind of focus more on control and to work on.
You don't know. Yeah, but
Sorry?
sorry, mate. You don't always. No, I was just going to say you don't always have to be exciting to watch.
No, of
And
course
I think
not.
with I think with Arsenal fans, I've always said this about Arsenal fans. I think with Arsenal fans, I think what it is with them, I think they're more eye test, more the like modern fans. Like they'd rather lose the league, lose the league 99 points to Man City at 100 than win the league on the lowest ever points. That's what I feel like your fans are more like. That's just my opinion.
You know what
Like
it is?
they'd rather. No, go
I
on,
think
mate,
a
go
lot
on.
of that's to do with the Wenger football. So, like, a lot of people grew up on
Yeah.
Wenger football and how pretty it was, and that's what we had for a long time to hold on to was the style of play and how exciting it was. I mean, for me, I'm just highlighting that obviously that it's not as exciting. However, I don't think fans should be, getting their knickers in a twist about it because it's not really the biggest thing. As long as you're collecting 3 points, that's all that matters, right? So at the end of the day, is you'll have games where you can blow teams away and play really exciting stuff, really, really pretty on the eye football. But you can't do that. And we've seen that with City. It doesn't happen over the course of a whole season. So you've got to win ugly. You've got to go to certain games and just put in a professional performance. And that's what it is today. And that's what it's been this season, which, okay, it might not be the most prettiest for me, but I'm happy with it because I know there'll be moments in the season where good football will come.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. This here from Skills says Spurs fan is comparing Arsenal's football to Conte's. Aaron here says, imagine being a Spurs fan thinking you were going to do something. Bro, please focus on the other areas of life. This isn't for you. Lol. This is Gummer here. I think it means Gunner here. Arsenal are not Man City. We are learning to be dominant teams for 100 minutes, 38 games a year. People are quick to forget how bad Man City were in Europe for a long time. Even Man City had a process. Yes, they did. They just didn't call it that, but they definitely had one. This is kind of like last season. The game against Spurs will be a benchmark of what this upgraded Arsenal will look like. And is no joke, is what Zezou says here. I actually agree. I think, look, listen, lots of teams beat Spurs last year. Lots of poor teams beat Spurs next year. They look different right now. It's going to be a much tougher game. But then beating them, what will happen is Arsenal will beat them and people go, but it's only Spurs. It always beat them. I don't want to see the goalpost being moved if that happened from a consistency point of view.
It is only Spurs.
It's only Spurs. Rice runs away from the press. The reason Arsenal are not fluid. He runs away from the press. I don't necessarily think you want your DM in an attacking press, leaving a big hole in the midfield personally, but that's just me. Brandon, what did you make of today, bro? What did you make of the performance from your team today?
Yeah, I thought the first 25 minutes was very good. I thought we controlled the ball very well. I thought we moved the ball very well. And then kind of after that, we allowed Everton back into the game by, having sloppy passes and giving away possession when we didn't really need to. But on the whole, I have to give the manager credit. Yeah, all the people in the comments now are going to be like, what's going on? Whoa, oh my God.
What? Oh my God, Brandon.
I've got to give the manager credit because, I said midweek on the Top 6 show that I wanted to see David Raya start. He started.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain.
Sam, positive. I don't know what to say. Wow. Sorry, go on, continue.
Yeah, no, I said on the Top 6 show during the week I wanted to see David Raya start, and I thought Ramsdale deserved to be dropped. I don't think his performances has been that great this season so far. Whether it's a drop or not, obviously we'll see on Wednesday whether Ramsdale starts the game. But I think you see the difference with Raya as well. I don't think he had too much to do in terms of like shot stopping or anything like that, but his distribution stood out massively for me today.
So composed. So composed.
Yeah, it's short passing, his long passing I thought was very good. 9 times out of 10 he found his man in doing so. Very composed on the ball. Fabio Vieira, another player who I said, should come in today based off of merit, based off his performances that he's shown off the bench. I thought he deserved to start ahead of Kai Havertz. Wasn't sure if the manager would do it because of the physical side of things, but he did that as well. And like I say, first 25 minutes, I thought we moved the ball very well. I thought The only thing that was really missing was clear-cut chances. And I think this is the one thing that Arsenal do have to learn from, because when you look at today as a whole, we didn't really create too many clear-cut chances. There wasn't really any chances that screamed out to me as, golden opportunities for Arsenal. And, Trossard came on because of Gabriel Martinelli getting injured in the build-up to that first goal. And, he wins us the game. And, I kind of take a little bit of a element out of this of, okay, we're not playing to our absolute best, but at the moment, while we're picking up the 3 points, who cares? As long as we're winning these games. But there are improvements that need to be made. But aside from that, the manager takes big credit from this today, because I thought he got his team lineup spot on. His substitutions were spot on. I thought maybe he could have brought on Gabriel Jesus a bit sooner than what he did, because Eddie Nketiah didn't really offer us anything in that first half. But he made the substitutions. I thought it was right to bring on Tomiyasu and Kai Havertz instead of, maybe a Smith Rowe or something like that off of the bench, to kind of keep it tight when it's 1-0. And yeah, Everton didn't offer anything, bro. For me, they're a relegation candidate team. And it's just good to get that duck off your back that, we couldn't win at Goodison Park. So, winning 1-0, that's fine with me. But there are, still improvements that need to happen. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think most Gooners would agree with you. I think there's definitely still things for Arsenal to improve on. But I think when you look at your team, I think there's a fervent belief from your fans and generally the fans that you're going to do that. Now, the big test is going to come with playing Champions League football. But what's really interesting is I was listening to something. I know this is Man City, and people hate the people really do hate the City Arsenal comparison, especially people that don't like Arteta. But listening to a lot of their players talk, and by the way, I realized I hadn't updated it the whole show. I've got the score from the Chelsea game on the screen and not the Arsenal game. So I've just updated that now. But there's almost like this element of I think it was Bernardo Silva that said, playing 2 games a week, we feel that makes us sharper. There's less time to stress about the games that are coming up. It's more, you're just working towards games. There's less boredom. So as much as a lot of people go, once we're in the Champions League, that's it. It's going to ruin Arsenal. When you listen to the top pros at the top teams talk, they see it, they're not talking about Arsenal specifically, but they see it the complete and utter opposite way. So I'm very intrigued to see how Arsenal look, because the Europa League's hard to judge, because all our clubs do it generally, is we rotate so heavily for these Europa League games. You're not getting a true reflection of how this actual team copes with 2 games per week with smaller rotation. So yeah, look, it's certainly going to be an interesting next few weeks.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Tel, because we've got a squad.
Tel, how do you think we're going to do in the Champions League?
Firstly, let me see you kick a ball in the Champions League first, before I start to judge it. But I feel like on a real level, I don't see why Arsenal can't be in the quarterfinals, and in the quarterfinals with a chance of progressing, and then just see who's left. Does that make sense? Like City are the favourites. But listen, City, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid are always right now.
That's my aim, is to get to quarterfinals at least.
Yeah, I think you can get there, and then it's about who's in the quarterfinals.
That's my aim, Terry, to get to these quarterfinals at least.
I hear you, bro, and I was going to mute you because you've got a delay. And once you get to the quarterfinals, you don't know who you're going to get. You could have a run that opens up slightly for you. I mean, you could end up in a position where you have to play Bayern, followed by Real Madrid, followed by City in the final if you progress, and it makes it really hard.
I see him winning it.
You think Arsenal will win it, Tommy?
Not because obviously I want them to, not because I think they're amazing. It's just no my luck. I don't like Arsenal because Rice has just gone. no my luck. They're gonna win it. They're gonna win it. You know what I mean? They're gonna win it.
I like that.
Win it. We're not winning the Champions League. Nah.
Brandon,
if they win it, Arteta in, mate. You can never say Arteta out again if you win it. That's it.
Brandon, you were gonna say something before I jumped in there. Sorry, mate. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, we've got a squad. I think the biggest thing about it is the manager needs to know when to rotate and how many to rotate as well. And I think that's the good thing about today. If he had started Kai Havertz today, and let's just say we had a drew that game, everybody be coming on here talking about Kai Havertz talking about how he should be rotating his squad better. And I said before that if he rotates and he makes the right decisions at the right times and it wins us the game, whether it's a good performance, bad performance or not, I will come on here and I will praise the manager. I'm not one of these who's just going to go, oh, everything's crap no matter what he does. At the end of the day, he's got a squad there. He needs to use it. He brought in Fabio Vieira at the right time for me, because he was showing levels and performances. He dropped Aaron Ramsdale at the right time for me as well. His substitutions were spot on. The only thing that I'd kind of say is, I think he just needs to get on the training ground with our attacking front three again and say, look, we need to start creating more because we are dominating games. And we are dominating games to a point where, the opposition teams are not really causing us too many issues. Everton definitely didn't cause us a single issue today. But we just need to be more ruthless in the final third. I watched Arsenal today, was very frustrating, especially in the first half, because it kind of reminded me of the Arsene Wenger days where we're trying to walk the ball into the back of the net. Like, just have pot shots. You never know what might happen.
You didn't seem vulnerable on the break, though.
An example of that. Sorry,
you didn't seem. Yeah, but I'd say yeah, but you didn't seem very vulnerable because under Wenger days, if you get hit on the break, it would usually lead to a goal or a chance. But then when you lost the ball, I didn't feel like Everton didn't create nothing. That's why I said that they didn't have a chance. That's why I said it's different because you did control that game. Usually when Arsenal fans say they control the game, it's because you had loads of possessions. But this game, you actually controlled it. Like Everton didn't have anything. They didn't have a sniff.
Yeah, but what I mean by the whole Arsene Wenger thing is, like, us trying to walk the ball in the back of the net. We see it against Crystal Palace. If we're being real, right, we was very lucky against Crystal Palace because had that penalty have not been given, we wouldn't have won that game. A bit like today, a bit lucky in a sense, but then again, you make your own luck, I suppose, as well.
But don't you think that whole walking the ball into the net is to do with kind of like what Man City do, and you saw it in the first game of the season when Pep berated Haaland, right? Because he doesn't want you to make risky passes unless he wants there to be a certain level of control to the game, right? And I know Arsenal fans get peed off with the whole Man City comparison, but whether we like it or not, right, that is the route in which we're kind of trying to go down to some extent, right? So Pep was berated Haaland because Haaland wanted Bernardo to play it down the line in a risky ball, which could lead to a turnover. So it's almost like they don't want to make risky passes unless it's clear opportunities. Otherwise, there's more risk of turnovers, meaning more risk of counters, meaning more risk of them going down the other end and scoring.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just think there was times today where Martinelli, Saka, Trossard could have took their man on rather than coming inside, playing that safe pass, So I do think there's certain, like you see it with Man City yesterday, Doku, how many times have we see that man?
Oh, mate, he was unbelievable.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, mate.
And it's about making the right decisions at the right time. And I just feel like it's too safe with Bukayo Saka in particular at the moment, where he'd rather cut inside, play the little one ticky-tacky passes with Rice and
yeah, but you think that's down to that injury they were talking about? Because I feel like even the start of this season, because I watch him, even though they're doubling up. Like I know when people say if he's world class, when you see him get doubled up and you see him get through, that's when you go, yeah, he's good. But recently, even at the back of last season, he got doubled up and he couldn't get through. But you don't know whether that's down to injury or whatever it is. That's why I always think he's on the not cusp of world class. That's why I don't think he's the best in that position, because that's when you get pressure and like when you pressure a rock, it turns into a diamond. Is when you get put like 3-4 players on, you see how they get through it. And I feel like he's more. I don't know whether he's scared, he don't want to get injured, or he doesn't know what to do. That's why he plays it back inside, or maybe he's been asked by Arteta, "Don't lose the ball, just keep it ticking."
I just think he's suffering from a little bit of burnout, personally.
Yeah,
we see towards the back end of last season, he wasn't performing at the same sort of level that he was throughout the season.
Yeah, 200 games he's played for Arsenal.
It could certainly be that. I want to go to somebody super. Cedric here says Kulusevski, 5 games, 2 goals. Saka, 5 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. Puri says, I'm comparing Rice to Partey. Whenever Rice gets pressed, he passes sideways. Partey would attract pressure and break lines. Arsenal fans hyping average. Right, but what I would say to that is this: that's there becomes a preference. You prefer someone to do what Partey does. Doesn't mean it makes him a better professional football player. Michael Carrick is one of the most accomplished holding midfielders in the Premier League era. He played as a mainstay in a Fergie team that did a three-peat, won the Champions League and Premier League in the same season, and was part of a dominant Man United team for the best part of a decade, and was actually still part of the winning Man United team that won some trophies after Fergie retired. So, and he would sometimes turn somebody, but he would pass the ball more so than doing that. So I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't mean Rice is bad. It just means he does it in a different way to what you prefer. That's your preference over quality, in my opinion, bro.
Wasn't that?
That's more than football fans are.
Like,
yeah.
Bro, how's Declan Rice catching strays here? I actually thought he was very good. Especially in
it's mad because you see Partey would do that. We saw him do it against West Ham last season, where he overplayed it, or he tries to overplay it, the ball gets taken off.
then you conceded.
So,
yep.
Exactly. So sometimes you see Rodri, he's one of the best in that position. He just does what the game requires. He plays it simple. You don't see Rodri doing the craziest things in the middle.
I didn't see it as much today, but I definitely saw it against Man United where Declan Rice had the ball and he'd drop a shoulder and accelerate and run past people. So again, I think it's being overstated. For me, Jesus came on. Arsenal had more chances, hence the goal. Yeah, look, and when he's fully fit and back in this team, I think Arsenal are going to go to another level.
The thing as well that Jesus offers us that I didn't think Eddie Nketiah offered us in that first half was Jesus comes deep for the ball, doesn't he? So he drags their defenders out of position. When you're playing against a low block like what Everton was trying to set up like today, you need that player who's going to come deep for the ball, drag their defenders out of position and create space for your wide players. And Eddie Nketiah didn't do any of that in the first half. So, of course we look better when Jesus came on.
Yeah, I hear you on that. This next super chat's really interesting because it says, funny thing is, Havertz played well, lol. He came on and played deep and was actually solid defensively. Glad Vieira got his well-deserved start. I said this in pre-season about Mount and about Havertz. I don't think either should have been starting for Man United or Arsenal. I believe there is you just look at some of those Chelsea players at the minute, they still look hurt from last season. And I understood what both Ten Hag and Arteta were trying to do is, well, if I start you and put faith in you, maybe that will kind of get out of you what I believe you're capable of. I personally felt the right thing to do was start on the bench and introduce them very slowly to the team as an example. But look, it is what it is. He did okay when he came on. This here says, Terry, I agree. Playing 2 games a week makes you sharp and no time to stew on bad results like United before the break. This is true. Like, the only thing about us playing again in a couple of days is I wish we were at home to Copenhagen, not away to goddamn Bayern Munich. But as a general rule, you're right. Albo, what are you saying, Albo? How are you, mate?
Hey, how you doing, man? First, I don't know. I love today's game. You know, it felt more like a stroll, control, just everything is good because we've not had it good here for a while. It's just a bit disturbing hearing the endless whining about this team. Like, we just brought in 3 major players, others left. We're trying out new styles and whatnot because that beat us last season. We have a new goalie. We have so many new things. So we just 5 games in. We've won 4. Drawn 1, we haven't lost. We are still in the running for everything. But I don't know why guys keep complaining. I mean, you can go on talking about what is wrong with the team and what's not. Today, people are saying Rice is passing sideways. Like, what games are people watching? Because on a serious note, I watch this guy a lot when he's on the pitch just to see what his impact is on the team. The reason why we are so comfortable in the middle is because he's there. If Partey was there, he brings in extra creativity, but he's very vulnerable. And it's a lot of the times, you guys forget how many wayward passes he does a lot of the times. He loses as the ball, he doesn't. Like, he's not, for a championship team, you need this kind of CDM. There's no other oh, we need him to be more creative. He will be. Once he is able to to get someone else, maybe when they're playing his party in Marshall 6, sometimes maybe moves forward. We've seen that happen. So I don't understand the whining. And on Raya, personally, I think he's marginally better than Ramsdale. If you watch the game, you felt the passes from the back, there was more space. And I think it's because he's so good on his feet that the attackers or the attacking midfielders were just hesitating. So he's so good at it that you could see it was frustrating their fans. You could tell the game, he slowed it down to when they were trying to hurry things up, he slowed it. I think he's better because on the feet is much better.
Well, I've just got
that's my take.
I'm just gonna, on Declan Rice, I'm just going to look. This, you know, I always said to people, eye tests can be proven wrong with facts. So today, Declan Rice played 31 passes backwards, 24 passes sideways, and 52 passes forward. So again, the eye test proves that you are wrong. He does not. Again, maybe the way you phrase it is exaggerated. He doesn't just pass the ball sideways. It's like yesterday. I didn't mind the criticism of Ten Hag yesterday, but I called out Staffy on the show, and I called out people on Twitter that said pretty much everyone that played yesterday is a Ten Hag player. When actually it works out 1/3 of the team that played on the pitch was Ten Hag players. Now I don't mind the criticism, but you can't start changing facts, and that's really important for me when it comes to this stuff. Boys, look, I want to say a big thank you for you all coming on. Viewers, remember, tomorrow morning I've got a show with Henry Wright. We're reviewing things over the weekend. 6 p.m. tomorrow. This stream now is going to take you to the top 6 show for tomorrow at 6 p.m. I think it's going to be an explosive show as we review the weekend and, of course, preview the Champions League return. It's going to be an amazing one. Very much looking forward to it. I want to thank all my super chatters today. Everyone who's hit the like button so far, if you've not done that yet, get it done. Please turn on the bell notifications. Don't just subscribe. Turn on notifications for the Football Terrace as well. Very important that you do that. We'll see you tomorrow on Straight Fact and, of course, on the Top 6 show, 6 p.m. tomorrow. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon.